Hello there fellow humans and welcome to this video, and today this is about the Swedish Lansen C, and the only interesting about this tank is that they actually dug up the old WoT PC announcer from like 2014 again, so that's quite nice. Now, obviously it's in crates, which immediately disqualifies this tank from being worth anything, so there is that. Now the drop chance is 5%, and 12 crates cost €50, which means you're going to need an average of 20 crates to get this vehicle, which means you're gonna have to spend somewhere around between 80 and 90 euros on average to get this vehicle, obviously with bonuses. So you end up somewhere around 45-50 euros for this tank, which it's not worth at all, ever. So we got that covered. But let's have a look at the stats of this vehicle. Let's compare it with tanks that are actually worth it, and then let's play a tank that you might want to have. So let's take a look at the Lansen here in the stats, and we're going to compare it to the best tier 8 medium tank, that is the Chimera, the TVP VTU, because it has similar alpha damage and also similar size, and also the Centurion because it is also a very good tank. Now, one thing, the DPM and the penetration are, well, nothing outstanding, but they're nothing bad either. They're just nothing special, so it's just the gun. Same with the alpha damage, you have 320, which is fairly similar to that of the TVP VTU. Now, most tier 8 medium tanks have somewhere around 225, so this does stand out quite a bit there. However, the Chimera has 440, so it just immediately loses to that, and you can also get the Chimera for a lot cheaper. And the problem with the Lansen is that the next time it's being sold, it's probably going to be 15,000 gold, which is not worth either, which is no tier 8 is worth at all, ever, because you just getting scammed, you know. So if anyone tells you this tank is worth getting, then they're just trying to scam you, that's all, you know, because 80 euros for a tank like this, that is decent, to be fair, but it's, why would you spend more money on a okay tier 8 than you do on a tier 10? That doesn't go into my head. But anyway, the aim time and the dispersion are slightly better than the Chimera. Movement, turret rotation, it's about the same. So in terms of the aim time, there isn't really that much bad about this thing. You also have 10 degrees of gun depression, which is the same as the Chimera, and also the Centurion, which is very nice. The mobility, fairly good. You know, you have a 20 horsepower to weight ratio, so it's going to be slightly faster than the Chimera. But in terms of the armor, it doesn't have any. Speaking of armor, it actually doesn't have any at all. Now, the upper plate is quite well angled, but it's still going to end up somewhere around 200 millimeters from the front. If you do use the gun depression, then it can be fairly effective, so that is a nice bonus. However, obviously the turret is complete paper. Even the gun mantlet really around. Obviously the mantlet itself is quite strong here, but even the holding for the gun mantlet is very weak. And even it has a cupola on top as well. And obviously the lower plate is a weakness for everything. Now, it also is curved outwards here, which means you can't side scrape at all. Because obviously if you go on an angle like that, you turn the tank, this plate becomes weaker and weaker rather than stronger, which is what happens when you normally side scrape in a tank. But yeah, you can't do that at all. Obviously, the way this tank is supposed to be played, it needs a good player. It's sort of like a Leopard 1 at tier 8, but bad. Now, because the Leo has 3,500 DPM, this thing has less DPM than the Chimera. The Chimera has better armor, has a better gun, yeah, so the point with this vehicle is that it is somewhere for a player that knows really what they're doing. This is a tank where you need quite a lot of skill to pull it off, because obviously you can't allow yourself any mistakes. You don't have any armor, you can't make any mistakes. The only protection you have is your skill. You have 320 alpha damage, which is fairly decent, so you can get good shots done with that. I wouldn't recommend trading with other medium tanks though, because obviously you don't have any armor. Even if you fight against the Pershing, you might have more alpha damage, but the Pershing is going to have better armor and also better DPM, so you're going to have to watch out for that. And obviously against heavies, they can out-trade you, so you don't fight with those. If you're a very good player, then you probably don't need this review anyway, but I would not recommend this tank to buy at all, because you can't buy it. You can't buy this tank right now. You know, you can gamble for it, but no. Just no. Why would you do that? And to show you how bad these are, I'm gonna simply show you with 2 of them. Now, these cost €5. Normally 1 crate costs €5, which means basically you get 1 crate for free with this bundle. So if I open 1 of them, and I get value of less than 1,500 gold, I've lost money in comparison to just buying gold. And just buying gold is most of the time also just a very bad deal. So just think how horrible these crates actually are. Now you have bundles like this, you know, where you have more gold, premium time, and 250,000 crates. I would need to get this out of 1 crate to break even. Right here. So, yeah, I hope you can see how bad these are. Now, obviously, you do have a chance at the tank, but by the time you get to the tank, all the things you lost here are not going to make up for it. Now, I got quite lucky there. 5 days of premium, 500 gold. But still, it is less than the 2,000. Way less than the 2,000 and the 7 days in the €5 bundle that you just saw. And now we're going to open the second one. And even now, we got 14 days of premium time, which does, it's not sold, but it does equate to about 2,000 gold. So with that free crate, we somewhat broke even. Now, obviously, for that to happen, for me breaking even there, 2 things have happened. I got a free crate. The regular price is €5. Now I got 2 crates for €5, which means I got €10 of crates for €5, but I didn't get €10 of value out of those 2 crates. So basically, even though I paid less, I still didn't get the value that they should have, right? Because if I buy the €5 bundle that you saw me look at earlier, I would have just gotten that value, and I didn't have to get lucky for that, because that's another thing, you know? To get those 5 days of premium and that 500 gold, you still have to get lucky. You could end up with none of that. So, that is dumb. Now, obviously, you can end up with a tank. However, the tank's drop chance is 5%, which means if you get those 2, if 10 people get those €5 bundle, on average, 1 of them is going to get it. On average. Doesn't mean that 1 is going to get it. So if you buy that 10 times, you might not get the tank. If you buy it 100 times, you might not get that, because that's how it works. Now you have the charms at 25, which means you're paying more than average if you get it with the charms, obviously, because the charms are 25, and the drop chance is 1 in 20. So, yeah. Nice. Not. But yeah, these crates are bad. Don't buy them, ever. And the Lansen C, I mean, it's a decent tank. You know, it's not bad by any means, but it is hard to play because obviously it doesn't really have any armor, so you need to be a good player to make it work. I mean, to be honest, it's better than something like the Borrasca, something like that, because you gotta love not being able to pen anything, not having DPM, and also not having any armor either. And then some idiot claims it's the best tier 10. Like, honestly. What world are we living in? I mean, some people like that, they're definitely actively contributing to the game becoming shit. But, yeah. Now, the Lansen is going to be it can be a good tank in the hands of a good player. It can be a wonderful tank in the hands of a good player, but it needs to be played well. It needs to be played by a good player to make it work. Because it is not a heavy tank. It can't defend itself. You have to know exactly what you're doing. Every mistake that you make in that vehicle is going to get immediately punished. So, yeah, you don't want to have that. And the thing is, you can get the Chimera, which is a better tank. It's an easier tank to play, and you can also get it for cheaper. If it is sold again. Once. Ever. Yeah, that's the thing about the Lansen. It's not horrible. The crates are horrible. The tank itself is perfectly fine. If it's sold for 6 to 7k gold, and you are a good player, you can certainly go for it. But other than that, just don't do that. Because even with the crates, look at that. How much value I lost. Even though I got lucky. And, sure, you could end up with a tank, you know, if you buy those 2. The chance for that is, on average, 1 in 10. Right? That if you buy those 2 crates, you get the tank. But, even if you get it, you have to be a good player to make it work. Otherwise, you're gonna be bad, or it's gonna settle on dust in the garage after a couple of battles. And even that, it might do that, because obviously, it's not a tank for everyone. And then, even though, if you get a tank, 9 other people are gonna have to pay for you to get that tank. So, in the end, Wargaming wins, and we lose, basically. Okay, now. Nice. And you can see the Chimera does the job just as fine, and even does it probably better than Lansen. It's not quite as fast, but if you want to have a tank like that, just get the fucking Leo. It's a Leo. Lansen doesn't have that DPM. Lansen doesn't even have that mobility. So, yeah. Lansen is by no means a bad tank, but it requires a lot of skill to play, and it also needs a lot of money, which is not worth. So, but yeah, maybe I'm worth it. Maybe you want to become a channel member. If you want to do that, sure. If not, that's perfectly fine. I'm not trying to scam you, like Wargaming is. Thanks for watching. See you for the next one. Goodbye.